Okay, Jose, this news came late in the week. We didn't have time to look into it, but George Kittle missed week one. He wasn't out there. It's a disappointment because obviously George Kittle is one of the league's highest paid tight ends. He is one of the league's most dynamic players, but he's not helping anyone when he's on the sideline. And it's been, what, 3 years since he signed that big deal, that big extension off of his rookie contract with us. And in that time, he's missed a good chunk of the Niners games. Starting off, he could potentially miss 2 games to begin this year. I don't even know where the injury kind of like popped up or how it came to be, because it just seemed like one of those middle of the week practice report injuries that hits you out of left field. I know from a fantasy football perspective, people were upset, but from a Niners fan perspective, considering you lost the game, should people be upset with George Kittle at this point?
I wouldn't go as far as saying be upset with him personally, just putting the blame on him for not being able to stay healthy. I mean, look, we know the type of player he is. We knew the type of player he was when we signed him to that extension. He's a physical player. He's going to give it his 100% every single snap. And stuff like that is going to happen when you're that type of player. Unfortunately, it's been happening pretty frequently since he signed that contract. But the times that he is on the field, this is just a completely different offense. And we could even use week one as an example. That offense does not look that bad if George Kittle's on the field. The running game won't be as stagnant. I mean, we have to remember he is almost like a 6th offensive lineman in some cases, because he could just move off blocks and then step up to the next level and then still be blocking 10 yards down the field. That's something that a lot of tight ends nowadays don't really do, and you don't see guys at that position doing that type of stuff. So I'm not going to say that I'm disappointed that he missed. I'm not disappointed in him that he missed week one. I was more disappointed that he wasn't out there just in general. I'm not going to put the blame on him, because we knew that this was part of the risk. This was part of the risk of signing a guy like George Kittle long term, is that his style of play could lead to injuries, and we've seen that happen. But hopefully now that he's able to have another week of rest, he's able to be back there, because the offense desperately needs him. The passing game needs him. That would just add another weapon that Trey Lance could look to in some of these situations where he just couldn't find anybody down the field. So I think if he's able to get back there within this week, or maybe even possibly week 3, the offense should be okay and should be, back to normal.
But how do you equate a George Kittle who is getting paid $15 million this year to someone like Travis Kelce, who's getting paid less than him? But Travis Kelce never missed games. He's always on the field. He's always making plays for the Chiefs. He's always a problem in the wide receiving game. He doesn't do what George Kittle does from a blocking standpoint. I think we all understand that. But is it more valuable to have a guy that's always there and always a reliable target over the guy that is an excellent run blocker, also too is a gifted pass catching tight end, but he misses a little bit less than half of the games?
I would just honestly let his play answer that question. I mean, if you're going to ask George Kittle to not be this physical run blocker and just only focus on more of a Travis Kelce role, I think we're going to miss out on what George Kittle really is. So yes, I understand him missing the games. That's just going to derail what he is and what this offense is. This offense is built to be physical. It's built to be, down in the trenches, and they're just bulldozing over people.
I agree with, but you know that he's not going to stay in the league that long playing that style. All the best. You go back to, let's equate this to like starting pitchers, right? Some of the best starting pitchers eventually lose their fastball and have to develop a heck of an off-speed game. Can George Kittle do that? Is there a next phase to the George Kittle's game? Or when he stops being a dynamic blocker, or the injuries prevent him from doing that, are we going to lose out on the best of George Kittle too early? Is it going to be that candle that burns too bright?
Oh, yeah, 100%. That's definitely a possibility. And again, we knew that coming into the contract negotiations. That's definitely a possibility that could happen. Bodies deteriorate, man. When you're that physical of a player, you just can't continue to do that year in and year out. And maybe he does, develop into more of a pass catching tight end. He is a smart guy. As much as he, tries to act like a knucklehead at times, he is a smart guy. He knows how he is valuable to this team. So maybe in this offseason, he'll take a step back and kind of look at things. And then maybe Kyle talks to him. Maybe John Lynch himself talks to him.
That's
and says,
my next question.
You know what? We need you.
How much of a role does Kyle have in this discussion of kind of changing up how they use Kittle?
Oh, he probably has the biggest role out of everybody just because he's the one calling the plays. He's the one designing these plays. If he feels like he's putting George Kittle at risk health wise, running some of these plays, he's going to have to change how the team kind of looks and the way this offense operates. And if that's really the best way for him to stay healthy long term. Now, is George Kittle going to be okay with that? That's a completely different discussion that they're going to have with him, that they're going to have between themselves. But yeah, Kyle Shanahan has as much input as anybody as to what George Kittle really does on the field.
So overall, since the extension, have you been happy with George Kittle?
100%. I'm still 100% happy he's on this team. I'm 100% he signed a long-term with the Niners, and that he's always said that he's going to be a Niner for the rest of his career. So I'm 100% on board with having George Kittle, even if he has to sacrifice a couple games, because we don't get to that NFC Championship game. We obviously don't get to the Super Bowl without George Kittle. He's been just such a workhorse. He's just a difference maker on this offense that, yeah, I would still keep him, even that if that means he misses a couple of games to start this season.
For the record, guys, I am happy with George Kittle being on this roster. I hope he's on this roster for years to come. I don't want to trade him. I don't want to lose him. I want to keep him for as long as we can keep him. But I also want to see him healthy, and I want to see him on the field more. So got to play devil's advocate here sometimes. Anyway, guys, what do you think of the current situation with George Kittle? Are you overall happy with how that contract extension has worked out to this point? Leave below in the comments. Leave a like on this video. Helps the channel. Subscribe to the channel. 49 reasons to listen. 2 right here. Juju and Jose. Stay safe, happy, and healthy, and we will see you next time.